Yo, 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 what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? It is your hostess with the mostest. It's PKR, Pastor Keenan Riley, and we are here on People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And as always, I'm joined by my sidekick, Nicky Nick, in this echoey room that we now call the podcast room. What's going on, man? How is it? Sun shining, birds chirping, sunny spring day outside here in Kentucky, man. How you
Right
doing?
after a rainy spring morning.
Yeah, this is true, man.
There's
It was it was dark and yeah, it was dark and dismal this morning, and man, we've needed the rain so much. So I think I heard the other day we're like 7 or 8 inches below what we need to be at right now. So like I'm sure there's a lot of farmers and a lot of agricultural people that are just doing some rain dances outside, just trying to bring the rain, trying to do whatever they can to make a little drop happen. So, what's inconvenient for us is probably convenient for some people, right?
There's probably a preaching point in there.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure you could probably pull it out and find it.
There.
Yeah, and find it somewhere in there, man. So, since the last time that we've talked, man, I mean, I don't know. The strait's closed. It's open. It's closed. It's open. It's closed. Gas is high. Food is high. Everything is high. We used to just worry about people in the White House getting high. Now everything is high.
Right.
I
mean, he used to have like what was it? Was his brother-in-law, whoever it was, Hunter? Yeah, his son.
Yeah, that's his son. Yeah.
You used to worry about that. Now we're worried about everything else.
No, it's insane, man. It's crazy anymore. I know Gas had a buddy that just went out to Cali last week and done some vacationing, man, and low grade out in Cali. Oxnard was where he was at, and it was 619, something like that, 629 for low grade out in Cali. So shout out to our people in Cali. We hope you make it, because
that's a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, that's pretty steep out there, man. 629 is pretty crazy, but I don't know about what their cost of living looks like. I don't know if probably. I don't know. Maybe if their minimum wage is higher than ours or whatever the case is, but yeah, man. I mean, it's some pretty dire activity going on across the world right now. I feel like
yeah. I mean, it's the same as last week. I mean, the world's on fire. And
did we do a podcast last week?
Was it last week or was it the week before?
I think it might have been a week before.
Yeah, we've been so inconsistent with moving and like being down here in Horse Cave.
We've just been like the rest of the world. We've just been on fire.
Exactly. It's been horrible. We're hoping to kind of get on a routine of some sort, but we're still kind of kicking things around to figure out what's going to work best for us.
So like for us, like for a year, I drove 45 minutes to church or an hour. And now Nick is driving 45 minutes or an hour to church. And so we're trying to figure out, is it better on a Wednesday? Is it better on a Sunday? Do we have stuff going on? So you have to bear with us a little bit, as we try to figure out this routine and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the inconsistencies, man, that's everyday life. But I mean, the world right now, man, like no matter where you look at, like no matter what country you look at, unless you're like Switzerland or something like that, maybe. But it's like it seems like everything, man. Like the president just had another assassination attempt, kind of, sort of, yeah, kind of. That just happened. Like that's like the third time in just this term alone that somebody's tried to take him out, man. So like,
and then immediately afterwards, the White House posts on Facebook that he's a king.
After
years of no king's protests.
Right. Yeah. Two kings, man. Two kings.
Yeah. And I was laughing because there was a meme that kind of followed this meme, but like somebody was saying he's like that. It was like a young guy talking to his dad or something like that, and it said that father is what you call rage bait.
Right.
That's pretty accurate. I think like I took a screenshot of that post and sent it to you, and it already had like 55,000 likes or reactions or something like that.
It's pretty crazy, man. I mean, but again, that's the world that we're living in these days, man, where it's like somebody is always upset about something. It's kind of crazy that you don't. It's crazy that you don't meet many people anymore that have anything good to say. I don't know if that's just part of the times that we live in. I don't know if that's just because we're so connected now that like everybody knows, and we all know that bad news travels a lot faster than good news. So I don't know if that's just a part of the world that we're living in these days, man, or that the enemy is running so rampant right now that people are just being discouraged. Or, I mean, is it the fact of, again, we talk a lot of times about how true faith and true relationship in Christ is revealed in times of stress and times of storms and situations. So, I've always said, man, that that fake people don't like real storms because it exposes who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, man, people will try to, kind of sidestep storms and stuff because then it truly exposes their faith level. It truly exposes their connection with God. And like people can tell you they're a good person or that they're a Christian or that they do all of this good stuff. But then it's like, let the storm happen, let the situation occur. And then you truly see what's going on in their life, the fruit that they're bearing.
Yeah, I think about it like somebody who like lies on their resume.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I can do X, Y, Z. Because I really want this job.
Yeah.
And then they get the job, and they can't do X, Y, Z when
Right.
it actually comes to where they have to actually face the music as per se.
Have you ever lied on a resume?
I honestly I don't think so.
That's what I was thinking.
Have,
I don't think I have, man.
I may have sweetened a few things,
embellished,
make it sound a little bit better.
Embellished a little bit, but.
I think I was watching an episode of The Office, and Craig Robinson, the guy who plays Daryl, like he was trying to get a promotion, and like he put his resume out there, and he was like in charge of 1.5 billion units of product or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Joe Bennett, who's played by Kathy Bates or whatever, she's like, "What does this mean?" And he's like, "Pieces of paper,
Yeah.
1.5 billion pieces of paper." But again, we get so like I think there's a lot of people out there again who they lie on their Christian resume. Kind of bring it into this point.
Right.
It's like they say, they act, they on the outside look. When you're looking at their resume, the way they post, the way they talk, the things they do, it looks like they're a Christian. But again, when those storms come, when difficult times come, we talked about how like COVID revealed a lot of things. And we talked about how struggles, whether it's whether it's a big issue, a big fight that breaks out in a church, or whether it's whatever it is, all these different things, times like we're in right now with the economy and all of these sorts of things. We talk about people not really having a trust in God as a provider.
Right.
When you have this situation, like Jesus is good all the time unless gas is $4.19 a gallon.
True.
Jesus is good all the time unless the strait gets closed again.
Right.
Jesus is good all the time unless I don't get that promotion.
Yeah.
Unless I don't get the good doctor report. And again, it's through those times where we are really tested. Our faith is truly tested.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a post this morning. Something that God was kind of talking to me about back and forth the last couple of days. Is I was like, it's we allow minor inconveniences to overshadow major blessings.
Yeah.
Where something doesn't go quite our way, things don't go the way that we expect them to go. And we allow that to become such a big, major thing in our life, but we forget about all the major blessings that God has given us.
Mm-hmm.
And all the wonderful things that He's protected us from, blessed us with. All of those things go by the wayside, and they're overshadowed by these minor things going wrong. By not getting that job interview, by not getting that raise, by gas being more expensive, by getting sick, or missing work one day, or whatever else you want to throw in there. Whatever you want to throw in there yourself. We allow these minor inconveniences sometimes to really overshadow those major blessings in our lives.
Well, it's like, and I mean, I'm transparent about anything and everything. But like I was telling my wife today, so like I got paid today, and I call it it's like the itty bitty check, pretty much, man. But so I got paid.
Like everyone in my paycheck.
Yeah, I got paid this itty bitty check today, man, and like it deposited this morning. And by the time that I paid some bills, went to the grocery store, bought gas, like the only thing, Nick, that I bought that was like, that I quote unquote did not need. And I'm talking about like we got food, we got water, we got gas. We paid bills, like, I don't know, like a water bill, like an electric bill, like a phone bill, like so we paid everything that we needed to. And the only thing that we got, man, outside of what we truly needed was, I think, three energy drinks, maybe four. And I bought my wife a fountain Coke, and so you can so you can take subtract $27, okay, off of that. And in one,
what energy drinks are you buying?
Well, I mean, now anymore, bro. Well, I mean, now anymore, like, no joke, like they're like I don't know, 27 may be embellishing just a little bit.
You need to shop some deals, brother.
like $15, all right. So like $15, man, out of the ordinary of what we normally spend, man. And I told my wife today, I said, I've navigated this day so good that I've paid some of our bills and made sure we're going to eat for a couple of more days and things like that. And I said, I think I got about $63 for the next 13 days, and I said, yeah, and I said, so that's $63 is meant to carry you through, it's meant to get you through. So you've got two options at that point. Either God is a provider, like whenever yeah, right, like whenever you get down to the bare necessity. I'm talking like the paper thin, like what this tablecloth is. Like if we held this tablecloth up to the window, we could see through it. It's that thin. Like whenever you get down to the thinness of what you have left, like you basically have two choices. You can either, kind of like what we talked about Sunday, you can either trust God, or you can start sinking, like one of the two. And like I could freak out and I could sit here and I could be like, yo, like how's this going to stretch for the next 2 weeks? It is. I mean, it really is, man. Like it really is. But, or on the other side of it, like, in those moments, kind of like what you were talking about, those pressure moments kind of reveal if we've lied on our Christian resume or not. And in those pressure moments, it's like, hey, I could either like wallow in self-pity, or I could show up and talk about Jesus tonight. We could do a podcast. We could have church. We could worship Jesus. We could do that stuff. Or I could just say, hey, I'm calling off church tonight because I'm just going to wallow in my self-pity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, which choice are you going to make? Like, it doesn't mean, I don't think, that you're not going to have bad days, that you're not going to have bad moments, or that you're not going to be, just kind of exposed for being real. Mm-hmm. But you do have a choice to make, though. Like, you do have a choice to make. You can still put one foot in front of the other, or you can just lay down and quit. And I can tell you, if you lay down and quit, man, things will be the same every day, no matter what day it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, of course, like I said, very similar situation. And we got paid Saturday, and I think we have $150 to last us till the end of next month.
Well, how about we combine our money, and we got about $200 together, and so
I still haven't paid our electric or our water or our internet bill, and that will eat up all of it.
So if we take a White Castle and we cut it in fours, right, we should be able to make it, man.
Thank God McDonald's dropped a few prices. If we like went to the grocery store one time and paid the electric bill, car payments, loan debt, credit card bill, student loan debt, all this stuff that just eats away.
I told my wife, man, before, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like we spent, it was like $250, I think, today at the grocery store, and I said, in $250, like she started getting stuff out of the bags, and I was like, where's the junk food? Like, where's the chips? Where's the sweets? Where's the snacks? Where's all? She said, Keenan, I got to make sure we have meals. You know what I'm saying? She's like, I bought chicken. I bought hamburger. I bought, stuff to like fix. Like she fixed a pot of chili before I come down here to church tonight. And like that pot of chili, bro, like I'm going to be smelling like chili, looking like chili. I'm going to be sweating chili for like the next 4 days, bro, because that's going to be like, that's going to, yeah. I mean, that's basically where we're at, man. And, to kind of say this and then let you get back to it, man, we always say that the best predictor of the future is the past, and it's like, if you go back and look, like we've seen these hard times before, man, whether it be the Great Depression or anything like that. Like we've seen these shortages and these moments before where things go sky high, even during COVID. Like, we've seen it where things went sky high.
So and that time,
gas went down. And then of course, they were pumping free money in your pocket, supposedly. Yeah, they were pumping stimmies left and right, which I still haven't seen a stimmy from Doge. I still haven't seen a stimmy from nothing like that,
God
man.
knows we could use it right now.
So we still haven't seen nothing like that, man. But it's I kind of like understand now where those people who kind of went through the Great Depression and things like that, where they would save everything, man. Like they would save stuff left and right. Like even if they didn't need it, they would find a use for it, And I feel like we're kind of. I'm not saying that we're back there, but I feel like that we're trudging that way.
Yeah, we're better off, but I think really the only reason we're better off is because of consumer debt. Like we breaking stuff down into affirm payments, and we got car loans, and all this stuff.
We clarnering.
Make that an action word.
Zipping. We're zipping. We're using all of these apps, man, and the pay in twos, pay in fours, and stuff like that. And dude, you're having to do it for a meal. Mm-hmm. You're having to do it for a meal. You're having to do it for groceries. Like my
wife's car battery just went out. That was like $300 something. You know what I mean? You got to break that up.
Did you zip it? Did you zip it?
I affirmed it.
I affirmed it. And that's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it gives people at least the ability, man, to be able to kind of take a breath. Now, in 2 weeks, when the first payment comes out, and you're hustling, bro, and you're like, But it's just like, it's crazy that we live in that day moment in time, man. I was thinking to myself, like, there is no middle class anymore. There's rich people and poor people, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is a middle class where people are putting the working economy on their back and trying their best anymore. Like, I think people are just either surviving or thriving, one of the two,
pretty much, yeah. And I mean, and I think that's kind of where I was getting at. Is I think we are really hard on ourselves sometimes. And again, that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, like those minor inconveniences. When something small happens, we're just really really tough on ourselves. We sit there and try to think of every way possible to get out of it. Also going with what Keenan said about just trusting God through it. Because if again, like I was saying, we either trust God as a provider or we don't. And it's in these moments and situations when you do struggle financially, or you do struggle with your health, or you do struggle with whatever else it may be, that you're forced to rely on Him more than you've ever had to before. And I think what's really important, I think, is to give yourself grace, number one.
Yeah.
But also to give yourself a pat on the back if you're still pushing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still moving, if you're still going, if you're still waking up every day, going in, clocking in. If you're still, because like we just said, Keenan said, you could just lay there.
Yeah.
You could decide, I'm going to let this situation be bigger than me, bigger than my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to let this situation defeat me. But, again, as the Bible says, you are more than a conqueror through Christ Jesus. That Jesus will provide us, thinking about Elijah, when God sent a raven to drop food down on him when he was depressed, ready to die.
Right.
It's just all about, keep moving, keep surviving, because it's and I don't know if I speak for Keenan, but I have seen in my life times that I didn't think I'd make it through, and I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here. I haven't had to file bankruptcy. I haven't been jailed for not paying the bill. Like there's a lot of different things. I don't know. It might be. I guess if you have too many delinquent loans, but again, it's just like all of these types of things that we could just lay back and let life happen to us. We could lay back and be a victim, but I think if you may not be able to do much. You may not be able to pay off a huge amount of debt at one time. You may not be able to, just use the cash out of your pocket to pay for groceries. You may have to break it into payments. You may have to get a credit card. You may have to do these things. But, and I know this is very anti-Dave Ramsey, but I mean, you may have to do these things.
Very anti.
But, you may have to do these things. And, of course, you have to be wise. You have to use wisdom. You have to, not just be stupid with debt and things like that. But, I think, if you are able to just keep moving and keep surviving, I think that deserves a hand clap. I think that deserves a pat on the back, because there are a lot of people who don't choose to do that, who allow their circumstances to destroy them and keep them down and keep them upset and frustrated and, all these sorts of things. I've met, a lot of people who have been in that situation, who just give up, who don't fight, who don't keep going, who don't keep moving, who don't try their best. And I think it's one of those things that you may not be able to do anything at all about your situation other than trust God and keep moving.
Yeah.
Trust God and keep moving.
Right, and that's it, man. And I think that's really what the essence of faith really is that you have to trust God through the process. And again, you have to keep moving, because if you stay the same, nothing changes. Like if you stay, it's getting so hot. Nick's sweating. He's taking off his hat. Man.
I don't want to ruin it. I affirmed this hat, so I want to make sure I don't ruin it before I pay it off.
Man. Well, I Amazoned the one I have on, so there's that. It is a new era, but it's. I think it was kind of like the low totem pole of new eras. So, but yeah, man. Like if you stay the same, nothing changes. Like that's just the way it is, But it is easier to talk about your problems rather than make a change. It is easier to stay stuck rather than move. It is easier. But, I mean, I don't know who, I don't know if it was a podcast. I don't know if it was a video, man. But I did hear a guy one time say, you have to choose your hard. Like being broke is hard, but earning money and becoming rich is hard. Being sick is hard, but staying healthy is hard. And it's like, no matter what you choose to do, it's difficult, no matter what you choose to do. So it's like, you just choose your hard and you do the best that you can at it. And so, like for us, like I've kind of adopted the saying, and I say it half-heartedly and jokingly, but I say it a lot. I said, it's no hill for a climber. Like I just keep on saying, like, it's no hill for a climber. Like you just got to keep climbing, man. Like you just got to keep moving, because if you don't, you're going to stay at the base of the mountain. And the base of the mountain is always going to look the same. It's always going to be the same. It's always going to, it's always going to entail the same situation every single day. But if you climb, your elevation is going to change. If you climb, your scene is going to change. Everything's going to change around you if you keep climbing. it's hard, it's difficult, it's tiresome, it's you have setbacks, sometimes you slip and fall a little bit, but complaining never changed anything. We've said that. Opinions have never gotten people to heaven. We've said that. So it's like we truly have to, I think, take into account, what this Bible says about God providing for his people time in and time out. It may not be lavish, it may not be escargot, it may not be bottles of Chardonnay, I mean, and sleeping on the fine linens and things like that. But like, he's never going to leave his righteous forsaken. He's never going to leave us begging for bread. He's never going to leave us to a point of where we're starving to death. Or even the Bible says, yes, we're pressed, we're crushed on every side, things like that. But there's still hope because Jesus is Lord, and if he's the Lord of your life, if he's the provider and the protector of your life, then he's going to step in at the right moment, and like you think about what the right moment looks like. Sometimes the right moment was three boys in a fiery furnace, and then like the Holy Spirit steps in, the Daniel in a lion's den, and then an angel steps in, Joseph in prison, and then guess what? Like he's into the palace. Like these moments where we get where we think that things can't get worse. I was actually listening to a guy before I came into church tonight who he said, listen, he said the room of failure and the room of blessing look exactly the same. He said, because if you get into that room, he's like, it's the hardest pressure that you will ever feel in your life. He said, but go back and look in the Bible so many times over. It was in the moments of pressure that God showed up and done something amazing. Mm-hmm. And in those moments, you just can't quit. You just can't stop, because if you do, nothing changes. But if you trust God and you press forward, who knows what is on the other side of that pressure moment? It's a blessing. It's a miracle. It's an opportunity. It's an open door. It could be anything that sets you free, but you just have to make it past that moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you were talking about like the mountain, I just imagine that person sitting at the base of the mountain and being just overwhelmed at the height of the mountain, the greatness of the mountain.
Right.
But again, you could be stuck in that situation of fear of I can't do this. This is too much. Or you can, like you were saying, that's hard. Being stuck in that moment, looking at the mountain ahead of you is hard. It's difficult. It's scary. And climbing that mountain is hard. It's difficult. It's scary. But like you just said, you're never going to see the other side of that mountain if you don't climb it. You're just going to keep looking at it.
Let's put it in today's terminology, like buying groceries, it's hard. Starving to death, that's hard. Like buying gas, that's hard. But sitting at home and losing your house, that's hard. So like you just got to choose your heart.
Yeah, I mean, and just also, along those same lines is, you have to also remind yourself that, because I know I'm very guilty of this, of trying to like control everything, trying to fix everything.
Yeah.
And there are times when God is just going to let you sit there. You just got to sit there and wait. That new job is going to come. That new relationship is going to come. That new raise is going to come. That new, the gas prices, hopefully God will drop.
Right.
Sometimes, the hardest thing to do is just to wait.
Yeah.
To sit still, to wait, to trust in God that he's got it, that he's handling it, that he's working it out. Because we can, if we try to put our hands to it, we can make a bigger mess of it than it already was.
Right.
We can get ourselves, like I just said, you can get yourself in too much debt to where when times are better, you're still struggling because you're trying to pay those debts.
Right.
Back off. And, so you've got to find that healthy balance of, because again, it says faith without works is dead, but you also don't want to take the reins from God. You don't want to take over everything he's trying to do and try to control every aspect of every situation, because God may just want you to sit still and wait on him.
Right.
To trust in him that he will take care of you. He will provide for you. Again, like Elijah, like I was saying a minute ago, Elijah he laid there and God brought the food to him. God took care of him. God provided for him.
Right.
And just, but you also look at the situation like Joseph. Joseph, he was a prisoner, he was a slave, he was all these sorts of things, but he still had to work to get the recognition. Daniel, he had to, he had to eat a special diet. He had to go pray the same every day. There was things that we had to do, but we also don't want to do too much.
Right.
We don't want to take the reins from God, but we also want to be wise and we want to be obedient and we want to do what he's asked us to do. But again, I think we get back into that, okay, how do I know? And I think that to me is one of the scariest, most difficult things a Christian has to face is, God, do you want me to go or do you want me to sit still? Do you want me to move or do you want me to stay here?
Right.
Do you want me to do this or do you want me to do nothing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think knowing that right there, if I had to sum up one of the most difficult things I've struggled with in the last 5 years, is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is I believe that God has a perfect plan and purpose for my life,
Mhm.
but I don't know if I need to do something to get there or if I need to sit back and wait on Him to get there.
Man, yeah, I think that's a good point, man. That I think that a lot of Christians struggle with is the fact of, do I stop and stay or do I move and go? Do what exactly is God calling me to do? Where is God calling me to go, or is He just calling me to hang out? Like what is He calling me to do in this moment? And I think, like, if you take your Christian walk seriously at all, I think you struggle with that somewhere along the way. Like if you really want to be in God's will, if you really want to be in God's blessings, if you really want to be in God's good graces, like, one thing that you always constantly worry about is, like, am I doing what He wants me to do? Am I in the season, in the moment that He wants me to be in? What do I need to do in that moment in time? And I mean, that whole, like, you've heard me say this a million times, that whole Pinterest BS, of like, until one more door opens, I'll praise Him in the hallway, like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the moments of, it's like, if you truly feel like that God isn't moving right now, then I'm not saying that He's not telling you to move, but if He's not moving, I for sure wouldn't be just moving myself. You know what I'm saying? I would be reading, I would be praying, I would be focusing so much and saying, "All right, God." So that way, when I see You take a step, when I know You speak to me to take a step, I'll go. But yeah, man, that's something that we all struggle with. Just any closing thoughts, man? I know it's kind of like it's been expedient tonight a little bit, man, but again, we're trying to figure out this schedule thing here. But so some listeners will be happy, be like, "Oh man, 30 or less, I can do this.
Yeah, I can do that.
I can do this, man."
Short commute.
Yeah. So wrap it up for me tonight, man, and your thought process as to what this faith thing actually looks like.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's difficult, 'cause I think of, like, we've been talking a lot in this episode about money, and it's hard sometimes, again, to trust as God as your provider, that He's going to take care of you, He's going to pay those bills. Of course, you have to work and earn an income. He gives you the ability to go to work and earn an income. But I think sometimes we can get stuck in that idea of, okay, I'm in a difficult spot, I'm in a difficult situation right now. Do I switch jobs? Do I sell things? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I work a second job? And then we're tasked with, okay, if I do that, is that me trusting God to provide me with the extra income, or is that me taking things into my own hands,
Right. Yeah.
and trying to fix problems myself?
Right.
But then, again, you can kind of, you can talk yourself and worry yourself into a corner.
Oh yeah.
And I think, again, like what Keenan's saying, and again, this is much easier said than done, is, it's all about digging into the Word, spending time with God. You want to make sure you understand and recognize the voice of God, so that when He does tell you to do something, when He does tell you to move, that you trust in Him, and not allowing yourself to get frustrated when you pray to God for an answer, and maybe you apply to a new job, or you apply for a credit card, or you apply for something, and it doesn't work out. You have to trust that that's God telling you to slow down. That's God telling you, like, I got this. Stop worrying. Stop freaking out. Sometimes we hit obstacles and we hit roadblocks and we get freaked out. We get angry. We get anxious. But we have to look at those things sometimes as God telling us, "I've got this.
Yeah.
Stop trying to control this. Stop trying to take advantage. Stop trying to fix this yourself. Let me handle it. Wait." And again, I think that's the hardest thing for Christians to do sometimes, is to sit still and wait and trust in Him.
Yeah.
Not saying we do nothing, but sometimes we can't do everything. We
Right.
have to allow God to guide us, direct us, and protect us.
You're right. And the Bible even says, "Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall run and not grow weary," right? They shall mount up with wings of eagles, and all that good stuff, man. Like, it's wonderful. But the point
Christian
is,
record.
you're right. The purpose is waiting in that process. But you have to know when to wait. You have to know when to move. You have to know when to stop. You have to know when to go. You have to know what direction to go in. The Christian walk is complicated, ladies and gentlemen, but that is why He allows grace every single day. And as we've said many a times, like, hey, this is Wednesday that we're taping this. Guess what? He's already put enough grace in Thursday for the mistakes that we're going to make today in order to try to make things right. So, as we bring this thing to a close tonight, again, like Nick said, pat yourself on the back. If you're still moving, if you're still going, if you're still trying, if you're still existing right now in this world, pat yourself on the back, man. Keep going, keep moving, because God is a provider. God is a way maker. He'll make a way where there seems to be no way. So pat yourself on the back. Again, tell everybody about People Suck. Love them anyways. And until we see you again, we love you so much, and be blessed.